Welcome to the Cognito Pod.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving deep into the recent AI announcements, specifically from OpenAI and Google.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, hasn't it? Sort of May 2024 right up to, April 2025.
Exactly. And our mission today is really to pull out the key insights for you. We're talking product details, the costs involved, those development timelines.
Pricing, market impact, all of that. How these big moves actually affect things.
Right. And we're basing this on Solid Analysis, TechCrunch, Ars Technica, company blogs, even chatter on X. The goal is to give you a really clear picture of this, well, rapidly changing scene.
Absolutely. It's crucial for you to understand the nitty-gritty, the specifics, not just the headlines, how they're positioning themselves, what the tech actually does.
Okay, so let's kick things off with OpenAI. They've certainly made some waves recently.
They really have. If you look at that period, say December 24 to April 25, you see advancements in the models themselves, but also new ways to use them and strategies to get them out there.
First up were the big model announcements, O3 and O3 Mini. What are the key details you should know there?
Okay, so O3 was announced back in December 2024. Then O3 Mini actually got released in January 2025, and O3 itself became generally available April 2025.
And the capabilities, what makes them different?
Well, O3 hit 87.5% on that ARC AGI benchmark, which is actually better than the human baseline of 85%. So really strong reasoning, especially in math, science, and coding. It uses something called program synthesis.
Program synthesis.
Yeah, basically its ability to generate or synthesize new code effectively. And O3 Mini. It scored 77% on GPQA Diamond, which is still very good. And it was faster and made fewer errors than the previous O1 Mini.
Interesting. But no vision capabilities in either, right? Initially, at least.
Correct. At launch, neither O3 nor O3 Mini had vision built in. That came later or with other models.
Got it. And what about the practical side, cost, development time, and how you could actually get your hands on them?
Okay, pricing. The O3 Mini API is pretty accessible. 0.55 cents per million input tokens and $4.40 for output. Much cheaper than the full O3, which is $10 and $40 for the same amounts.
Big difference.
Huge. And access-wise, free ChatGPT users got O3 Mini, which was a big deal. Plus, and pro users just got higher limits. O3, the big one, was mainly for enterprise API users initially.
And the cost to build these things must be massive.
Oh yeah, O3 is estimated maybe $1 to $2 billion. A lot of that is just the sheer compute needed, like 172 times more than a lower version they tested, apparently. They spent something like $6 billion on compute overall in 2024.
Wow.
And O3 Mini, more like 200 to 500 million. That's still a ton of money, but they could leverage the O3 infrastructure,
Great.
more efficient.
Makes sense. And how long do they take to cook?
O3 took roughly 15 to 18 months, measured from the O1 release. O3 Mini was quicker, more like 6 to 9 months, so to build directly on O3.
So what was the overall impact of releasing these for users, for the market?
Well, giving O3 Mini to all the free ChatGPT users, that helped push them to 250 million weekly active users. Huge jump.
250 million users a week?
Exactly. And the lower API cost, about 63% cheaper than O1 Mini, made it a real competitor to models like DeepSeek's R1. Good news for developers needing cheaper options. O3 itself, it signaled OpenAI's ambition for, that frontier AI, though it did hit some safety delays initially.
So a two-pronged approach then, broad access and high-end power.
Precisely, covering both bases.
Okay, moving on. They also announced Deep Research. What's the story there?
Right, that was February 2025. Deep Research is basically an AI agent. It uses O3 under the hood to do autonomous web research and then write reports. It's built into ChatGPT, but for enterprise and academic users.
So more for professional use cases. What's the investment look like, and how does it fit into pricing for you if you're in that group?
Development cost is estimated again in that $200 to $500 million range because it's building on O3. And for users, it's part of the ChatGPT Pro subscription that's $200 a month or the enterprise plans.
And the timeline. How long from O3 to this? And what's the market potential?
Took about 6 to 9 months after O3 was ready. In terms of market, early signs suggest it could bring in maybe $50 to $100 million a year. It's definitely competing with tools like Google's Notebook LM. So for you in business or research, it's a potentially very powerful new tool.
Then there was Sora. That definitely generated a lot of buzz, right? What should you know about it?
Oh, absolutely. Sora came out December 2024. During their 12 days thing. It's their text-to-video model. You give a text that makes a video. Plus, it's integrated with ChatGPT Kansas, so you can actually edit the videos too.
Video editing too. Okay. What about the costs and development time for you to get something like this?
The cost is pegged somewhere between $300 and $600 million. That's kind of based on what we know about DALL-E 3's development. And it took a fair while, maybe 12 to 18 months, building on their image generation work.
And the impact, how did it land?
Well, it's a direct competitor to Google's ZO2, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But OpenAI put Sora right into ChatGPT, the consumer platform. That meant tons of generated videos went viral on X, really boosted public awareness of just how far video AI has come.
Right. Accessibility makes a difference. OpenAI also spent time improving the core ChatGPT experience itself. What were some key updates for you as a user?
Yeah, quite a few things between late 24 and early 25. They added Canvas and projects, ways to organize your work and editing, WhatsApp integration, which is handy.
Text and voice on WhatsApp.
Yep. Updates to the Mac app, too, integrating with things like BB Edit and MATLAB. Voice mode got better, and image generation got a big boost, powered by GPT-4o. The anime style was apparently super popular. And importantly, they launched the GPT 4.1 models, including Mini and Nano versions. These were focused on coding improvements and, crucially, cheaper API access.
Cheaper API is always good for developers.
Yeah.
What was the estimated cost and time frame for all these enhancements that benefit you?
Collectively, probably somewhere in the $500 to $800 million range. A lot of it was leveraging the existing GPT-4o model. Development times varied, but generally around 6 to 12 months for these features to roll out.
And the payoff for OpenAI. And for you.
Huge payoff. These improvements were key drivers in hitting 10 million paying subscribers. That translated to $2.8 billion in consumer revenue in 2024 alone. And those GPT 4.1 models, directly targeting developers, offering efficient alternatives, challenging Google's Gemini in that space.
Now, one of the perhaps more surprising moves was their plan for an open weight model. What can you expect there?
Yeah, that announcement came in March 2025. They're planning to release their first open weight model since way back with GPT-2. They're even planning developer events around it, but it's all pending safety evaluations.
Safety first. So why the shift? And what are the costs and timelines looking like?
The cost is estimated pretty high, again, maybe $500 million to $1 billion, a similar ballpark to O3. And it's not quick, maybe 12 to 24 months of development, and that was ongoing as of March. Why? Likely a strategic move to counter Meta's Llama and Google's open models. Plus, they probably see potential revenue down the line from API access or licensing, even if the model weights are open.
Interesting dynamic. Okay, before we pivot to Google, can you give us that quick financial snapshot of OpenAI again?
Sure. So 2024 revenue, $3.7 billion total. About three-quarters of that, $2.8 billion, was subscriptions, the rest from API and enterprise. They're projecting a massive jump to $11.6 billion in 2025.
But they're losing money.
Big time. Reported a $5 billion loss in 2024, mainly because of those huge $6 billion compute costs.
Yep.
Projections show losses continuing, maybe hitting $44 billion total through 2028. Despite that, their valuation hit $157 billion after funding in September 2024.
High-stakes game. Okay, let's switch gears. Google AI. They haven't been sitting still either.
Not at all. Google's strategy, especially in this May 24 to April 25 window, seems really focused on integration. Taking their Gemini models and weaving them into their, well, massive ecosystem of products. That has big implications for you if you use Google stuff.
So they updated their core models too. Gemini 2.0 Flash and Gemini 2.5 Pro. What are the key things you need to know?
Right. Gemini 2.0 Flash came out in December 2024, optimized for speed, handles text, images, video, even streaming video input-output. Then Gemini 2.5 Pro Experimental popped up in March 2025. This one's positioned as more capable, multimodal, strong on logic, STEM, coding, agent-like tasks. Big feature. A 1 million token context window.
1 million tokens, that's huge.
It really is. It's available through Gemini Advanced and their AI Studio. They haven't released specific benchmark scores like OpenAI does, but they call it state-of-the-art, and it got some praise on X, especially for coding.
Okay, and development costs, timelines, and how you can access these.
Gemini 2.0 Flash development is estimated around $300 to $600 million. It was really about optimizing speed based on the previous Gemini 1.5. Took maybe 6 to 12 months after 1.5 Pro. Gemini 2.5 Pro, though, that's likely in the $1 to $2 billion range, reflects DeepMind's value and the compute needed for that giant contact window.
Similar cost to OpenAI's top model then?
Pretty comparable, yeah.
Huh.
Development for 2.5 Pro spanned maybe 12 to 18 months from Gemini 1.5. And for access, you can try Gemini 2.5 Pro via Gemini Advanced or the AI Studio for experiments.
What's been the impact of these Gemini updates so far?
Well, Gemini 2.0 Flash seemed timed quite strategically, possibly to preempt streaming features expected from OpenAI. Gemini 2.5 Pro, with that massive context window, really sets it apart from GPT-4's limit. That's a big draw for developers needing to process huge amounts of information.
Makes sense. Google also dropped VO2 around the same time OpenAI launched Sora. How do they compare for you?
VO2, also announced December 2024, is Google's answer in text to video. It posts 4K video generation, adjustable camera angles, that sort of thing. Generally considered best in class in terms of raw video quality.
Better quality than Sora, potentially.
That's the claim, yes.
What was the investment and timeline behind VO2?
Estimated cost is around $200 to $500 million, building on their Imagen 3 image model research. Development took about 12 to 18 months from the first VO version.
But what about its market impact versus Sora?
Here's the key difference. While VO2 might have better quality, Google initially made it developer-only access. Sora, being in ChatGPT, had immediate consumer reach. So VO2's impact, while potentially strong technically, is less widespread among the general you right now.
Access matters. Now, a huge area for Google is search. They introduced AI overviews and AI mode. How is this changing the search experience for you?
Big changes. Announced March 2025. AI overviews, powered by Gemini 2.0, are apparently already used by 1 billion users for things like coding help, math problems, multimodal searches. Then there's AI mode, which is still experimental, offering more conversational AI-driven answers and follow-up questions.
Integrating AI right into the core search results page. What did that take, investment-wise and time-wise, for a product you probably use daily?
Yeah, weaving Gemini into the massive Google search infrastructure is estimated at $500 to $800 million. But the timeline was pretty quick, 6 to 12 months after Gemini 2.0 was ready. They could leverage all that existing search tech.
And the impact for Google's business and for you searching.
It really solidifies Google Search's dominance, right? A direct counter to anyone trying to build an AI-first search competitor, like maybe ChatGPT aimed to be.
Yeah.
Monetizing through ads and these AI features could mean billions. For you, it means search potentially becomes more interactive, maybe more helpful for complex queries.
Google also updated Notebook LM. What's new there for you?
Right, October 2024 updates. They added audio overviews. It can generate these podcast-style summaries from text docs, videos, PDFs, which is pretty neat, and a user join feature, so multiple people can interact with the AI using the same sources.
Audio summaries. Interesting. Investment and timeline.
Relatively modest compared to the big models, maybe $100 to $200 million, using Gemini 1.5. Took about 6 to 9 months after 1.5 is out.
And the impact. Is it catching on?
Well, it's free, which helps drive adoption. It's definitely a competitor to OpenAI's deep research. And reports said it was pretty popular in 2024, so there's clear user interest in these kinds of AI research assistants. Good tool for you if you need to digest lots of info.
Beyond Search and Notebook LM, Google's been putting Gemini practically everywhere else you might interact with them.
Absolutely. Between July and October 2024, you saw Gemini pop up in Google Maps for AI queries, summarizing reviews, in Gmail and Docs for summarization, finding info, automating tasks, on Pixel phones with Gemini Live voice features, scam detection, even on Chromebooks with AI tools.
Wow, that's a real blitz of integration, costs and timelines for spreading it so wide.
Collectively, maybe $300 to $600 million estimated cost, again, leveraging Gemini 1.5, and the integration was fast, mostly within 6 to 12 months.
What's the strategic thinking there for Google and for you?
It's all about leveraging their scale, right? They have billions of users across these products. By putting Gemini everywhere, they dramatically increase AI touchpoints in both business and consumer contexts. For you, it means AI features might just appear seamlessly in the tools you already use.
Okay, one last Google announcement. TX Gemma for drug discovery. What's the significance there for you or maybe the medical field?
This was March 2025. TX Gemma is a family of OpenAI models specifically aimed at drug discovery. Understanding medical text, therapeutic stuff, it's part of their broader health AI initiative.
Open models for health, investment and timeline.
Lower cost estimate here, maybe $50 to $100 million. Partly because it's open source and builds on existing health AI work. Took about 6 to 12 months after Gemini 2.0 and likely benefited from their AlphaFold 3 research too.
And the potential impact.
Well, it targets a huge market. Drug discovery is massive, but being more general than something like AlphaFold 3 might limit its immediate practical use. However, being open could really spur innovation in the wider research community.
Gotcha. Okay, before we compare head-to-head, Google's financial picture in relation to AI.
It's different from OpenAI because AI is mostly embedded. Google Cloud hit $33 billion in 2024 revenue, with AI being a major factor.
Right.
Google Search brings in over $200 billion, and AI overviews will likely add to that via ads eventually. Their overall AI investment is estimated at $3 to $5 billion annually, supported by DeepMind's expertise and resources. And with a $2 trillion market cap, they could easily fund this long-term R&D.
Very different financial realities. Okay, now we have the lay of the land for both. Let's do that comparative analysis. How do their technical capabilities stack up right now?
Okay, if you look at pure reasoning, based on benchmarks like RSC, AGI, OpenAI's O3 and O3 Mini seem to have an edge, maybe that chain of thought advantage.
Right.
But then, multimodality. Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro, with that million token context, and VO2's 4K video quality. That looks superior to GPT-4's 128K context and Sora, at least on paper. Plus, Google's integration across its products gives those multimodal capabilities more places to shine for you.
And speed or cost?
OpenAI looks pretty competitive there. O3 Mini and GPT 4.1 offer some really compelling API price points. Google's Gemini 2.0 Flash is designed for speed and matches O3 Mini's low latency. But we don't have firm pricing for Gemini 2.5 Pro, yet likely to be premium given the capabilities.
What about the development costs and how long things take? Are they similar?
The cost ranges look broadly similar, tens or hundreds of millions up to billions for the flagship models. OpenAI's costs seem heavily driven by raw compute power for training. Google's costs are also very high, obviously, reflecting DeepMind's value, but their existing infrastructure seems to let them deploy and integrate features perhaps a bit faster across their ecosystem.
And how do their overall market strategies compare? Seems quite different.
Very different. OpenAI is focused on that direct-to-consumer success with ChatGPT, plus building a strong enterprise API business.
Yeah.
And now, this open-weight play to counter rivals. All while navigating those heavy losses, but maintaining a sky-high valuation.
Right. And Google's
playing the long game, leveraging its massive user base. Integrate AI everywhere, make it indispensable, drive adoption through free tools or existing subscriptions. Monetization might follow later, or just enhance their existing ad and cloud businesses. Their huge market cap gives them that stability.
What about the competitive dynamics? Feels like intense one-upmanship.
Oh, absolutely. You see it with things like Google's Flash coming out potentially ahead of OpenAI's streaming, or the back and forth on context windows. OpenAI clearly leads in the dedicated consumer chatbot space with ChatGPT's brand recognition. Google dominates search with AI overviews. In B2B, Google's integration across workspace and cloud is arguably stronger right now. And now both are hedging with open source moves.
So what's been the market impact of all this activity?
Well, OpenAI, as we said, saw great revenue growth in 24, especially from subscriptions. High projections for 25. But those compute costs are a big question mark long term. Google AI is definitely boosting cloud revenue and making search stickier. Growth in creative AI tools like video generation is happening for both. User reactions on places like X show a lot of excitement, but also maybe some anxiety about the pace, and definitely talk about a potential price war benefiting you as a user or developer.
Okay, let's try to crystallize this. If you were summarizing the strengths, weaknesses, risks for each.
Okay, OpenAI. Strengths are that cutting-edge reasoning, massive consumer traction with ChatGPT, dominance in generative AI mindshare. Concerns, those huge costs, maybe reliance on Azure.
And Google?
Google's strengths, that unparalleled ecosystem scale, the multimodal advances, potential for long-term leadership via integration. Concerns. Sometimes opaque benchmarks, maybe slower initial consumer rollout for some advanced features like VO2 access.
Some risks for both.
Accuracy is a big one for both hallucinations. Limitations like we saw with TextGemma's immediate applicability. Regulatory scrutiny is always looming. And financially, it's OpenAI's burn rate versus Google's deep pockets.
So wrapping up the comparison, for you, the listener, the key takeaway might be OpenAI is really pushing raw AI capability and monetizing it directly, while Google is weaving AI into everything you already use, leveraging its scale. Both are advancing incredibly fast, but face different hurdles.
Exactly. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. This tension between open models like Google's TX Gemma or OpenAI's plan versus the closed, highly capable models like O3 or Gemini 2.5 Pro, How will that play out? And maybe more fundamentally, can anyone sustain these massive development and compute costs? How will that ultimately shape who gets access to powerful AI and what innovation looks like down the road? Whose strategy seems more sustainable?
A critical question indeed. Lots for you to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.